Hi everyone. Today I want to have a chat to you about offsets and redraws. Now this is a topic that's pretty near and dear to me, mainly because for years and years I've had clients now get it so wrong and it's cost them thousands of dollars in the setup of their loans, etc. So let's have a chat. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover just purely the investment option here. Offsets and redraws can apply to your home or your home loan as well, but it does get a little bit more complicated. If you're going to rent out your home at some stage in the future, i.e. move on and build a bigger home, whatever it may be, and keep the home as an investment, then this strategy becomes really, really important. But it is a little bit more complex, and I don't want to spend 20 minutes of your time going through the absolute detail. It's very, very specific to each individual's case for the home ownership example. So if you do have a home and you're unsure how to use this, feel free to touch base with us. Either come through the website or give us a call, and I'm happy to have a look at that on a detailed, one-on-one type basis. So for today's little presentation that I want to give to you on offset and redraws, we're going to assume that we're an investment property that we're dealing with. So let's have a look here. I'm going to start with a redraw, and I'm going to, prefix this with a client of mine probably about 2 years ago now. I said to them, listen, you need to go into the bank and set up an offset account. So they went into the bank and said, I need an offset, I've been told to set that up. Now the bank turned around and said, well, you actually don't really need an offset, you just need a redraw because it's the same thing. Now, that almost makes my blood curdle because offsets and redraws are not the same thing. If they were the same thing, then why do they have different names? So there is a big difference between the two, and you need to understand how to use them. Now, the bank is not really in a position to be able to go into detail with that. A lot of the time, they're there to sell money, and that's their role. So you probably need to make sure you understand this before you go in and ask for either offset or redraw. So let's have a look at redraw first, which is here. So this is our investment property. What I've assumed down the bottom here is we've got a $400,000 loan sitting in here with this investment property. Now let's assume you've either been on a deployment if you're military, or you've come into a bit of money, or you've saved a bit of money and you've got $20,000. So let's put here 20K. Now there's a couple of options. Now with the redraw option, what you're going to do is you're going to pay this 20,000 into the loan here. So what we've essentially done is we've dropped our loan down to 380,000. And now we only pay interest on the remaining balance, which is $380,000. Now that's really good in terms of paying down a loan. The issue is the moment that cash, because that was 20,000 in cash, the moment that cash enters that loan, the cash ceases to exist and is no longer there. So what then happens is, let's say it's a week down the track, it could be a year down the track, that you then decide, actually I want that 20 grand back. And let's assume it's to go and buy a car. So you approach the bank and you say, hey, I want to get the 20 grand redraw facility back out. No problem. The bank says, yep, sign here, you can have it. And you then use the 20, you withdraw it, and you go over here and you buy a car. Now the issue with this comes from the ATO's point of view, because what you've now done is you've actually taken a $20,000 loan to go buy a car. So you can't claim that $20,000 as a tax deduction because it is for a commercial use, which is a vehicle. So what happens is you've now got, and I'll get down here, you've got a $380,000 loan, which is tax deductible because it's an investment property. And what you've now created is a $20,000 loan that is not tax deductible because you've gone and used that $20,000 to go and buy a vehicle here on your redraw facility. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the exact same example, and we're going to move across to the other side, to the offset, and we'll have a look at how it works. So same scenario, we've got our loan here of $400,000 against the same investment property. And this time, when we get our $20,000 from deployment, whatever it may be, we're actually going to open up an offset account that sits here, and our 20K is going to go into that offset account. Now how an offset works is that it basically gives you the same interest rate as your loan. So if you're paying, let's say 4.5% for your loan here, they'll give you 4.5% for the $20,000 sitting in the offset. So what that means is it just offsets your loan. So therefore, the same as over here, you're only making interest repayments now on $380,000. So from the bank's point of view, nothing really changes. They're still charging you interest now on only $380 because you've got 20 sitting in your offset. But where the big difference comes is from the ATO's point of view. So what happens now is you then, a week or a year later, as in this example, decide that you need to go buy a car. So what you then do is you actually go to this account and you draw out $20,000 and you go buy your car. Now the difference in the offset scenario is that this money is actually cash. This is just cash sitting in a savings account that is offset against this loan. So when you draw that out, all that happens is the underlying loan goes back to $400,000, but you've used cash to go and buy a car. So you don't fall into the issue that you do here using your redraw, where it's actually a borrowed loan. So what then happens is you end up with a $400,000 loan that is fully tax deductible, once you then take the $20,000 in cash out. Whereas here you end up with $380 that's tax deductible and $20 that's not. So you actually ruin the structure of the loan. And what can happen is that this is only an example with a small amount like $20,000, but if people are paying off principal and interest and pouring extra money into this investment loan over a period of say 5 to 10 years, it can make a significant difference when you then need that money later on to go and do something in lifestyle wise, whether it be a car, whether it be a holiday, whatever it may be. So the offset is a much, much better way of setting up structurally against an investment so that you can achieve the same goal. The only negative that I need to point out to you about offset accounts is that this is basically a savings account, this offset. So if you have a significant amount of money sitting in that, and some clients of mine could have, $100,000 to $200,000 in cash sitting in there, you just need to be aware that it is not cash to go and spend. It is cash that is sitting against a loan. So the discipline side of it is the only negative of having an offset. Whereas a redraw, if the $200,000 is in the loan, mentally you feel like you can't access it anyway. So that's basically the difference between offsets and redraws. If anyone does have any issues around home loan type scenarios and how these could apply, then please touch base with us and we're more than happy to have a look for you. Enjoy your day.